talk about the spinal cord and the anatomy and physiology of spinal cord, uh, part 4. So we will discuss the other tracts which are left. But before that, we will discuss the question which I have given you yesterday. Let's discuss it. So the question was at which level the crossing occurs at the lateral spinothalamic tract. So we have studied the lateral spinothalamic tract. I hope all clear up to here. If it is not, please see the video and respond me in the comment section that you understand well or not. Okay, fine. We have studied the lateral spinothalamic tract and we have seen that, like for example, I draw if the spinal cord here. We have discussed it earlier, so I'll not go into detail. You can, if you do not know, just see the video. So here the dorsal root ganglion, here the dorsal gray horn at the substantia gelatinosa of Rolando, and from here it got crossed to the lateral column, and from here it ascends. So if we see, the crossing occurs at the, not at the medulla, not at the brainstem, it occurs at the spinal level. So the answer would be your spinal level. Fine. So this is your lateral spinothalamic tract. Fine. Now today we will study the other tracts which are left. So let's see. We will see the anterior spinothalamic tract. So I told you earlier also, you don't need to memorize anything. Just understand it. If you really understand it by heart, you don't need to memorize it. Okay, fine. So let's start. Okay. If you remember the lateral spinothalamic tract, it somehow follows the same pathway. Now we will see that how. First of all, we will discuss the sensations like we have discussed earlier of the other tracts. Let's see. If I say the dorsal column, medial and meniscal system, these have the following sensations. Which are those? Let's revise it. That are proprioception, your kinesthetic sense, your fine touch, vibrations, stereognosis, dew point discrimination, and your graphesthesia. Fine. And if I talk about the lateral spinothalamic tract, which we have studied, are sensations which are taken by your lateral spinothalamic tracts are your pain and temperature. And now, if I talk about the anterior spinothalamic tract, it carries your crude touch sensation. Sorry, crude touch sensation. Fine. How, what is crude touch? For example, if I say the fine touch, this is the simple touch, which this is very fine touch. And if I just press it, this is your crude touch. Fine. So this is your crude touch, which is taken by your anterior spinothalamic tract. Fine. Means, for example, if there is any lesion or any disruption in the anterior spinothalamic tract, the patient will suffer the contralateral crude touch sensation. Means loss of contralateral crude touch. Fine. So let's start. Let's see what is the pathway of the anterior spinothalamic tract, which is taking your crude touch sensation. So let's do it very fast because we have already done the lateral spinothalamic tract and it follows almost the same tract with just little differences. If we see, let me take another pen so that it can be more clear for you. Okay, see, this, this is your dorsal nerve root and your dorsal nerve root ganglion. From here, what are the receptors? Yes, the receptors for crude touch is your Pacinian corpuscles. Fine. So these are the receptors. Okay. From here it will go to the dorsal root ganglion. Here it forms the first order neuron, right? Let me draw it with another pen. So, in the dorsal root ganglion, your first order neuron will be formed. Fine. Then from here, it will be reached towards your dorsal gray horn. Here, which nucleus is there? For the lateral spinothalamic tract, it was Clark's nucleus, and for here it is chief sensory nucleus. Fine. Chief sensory nucleus. So the second order will be formed here at the chief sensory nucleus, right? Or second order neuron. And after taking the origin from the chief sensory nucleus, it will proceed its further part. For example, I told you it will move to it is anterior spinothalamic tract. Fine. So how it will follow? It will go further downwards, then from here it ascends. Fine. Likewise, it follow the same fashion, and add in it at every spinal level. The fibers will be added. Fine. So if we see at the spinal level, we have seen that how the fibers are moving. They are taking the origin at the Pacinian corpuscle. From the receptor, it is moving towards the dorsal root ganglion. Here it synapses and forms a first order neuron. From there, it will move towards the dorsal gray horn. At the chief sensory nucleus, it will form the second order neuron, and from there it will cross. Means this crossing is also occurs at your spinal level. If we see, right, like in the lateral spinothalamic tract, it follows the same pathway, but your lateral spinothalamic tract does what? Crossing in the lateral column, but here it crosses at the anterior column, and from there it ascends upwards, and then we will see that how it goes upwards. Let me take the new slide to make you understand this. For example, I'll draw here only one spinal cord level. At every spinal level the fibers will be adding to it, and it will follow the same thing. Dorsal root ganglion, from there chief sensory nucleus at the dorsal horn, and then it crosses, then ascends upwards. For example, we have here your medulla. Fine. From the medulla it goes upwards to the what? Pons. Good. Have the mid brain stem, which includes your midbrain, pons, and medulla. And from there we have your midbrain, crossing the midbrain it will reach to the thalamus. Again the same, in the VPL nucleus it will form the third order neuron. Fine. So after synapsing in the VPL nucleus, it will form the third order neuron. Likewise, we have seen in the lateral spinothalamic tract, it will follow the same pathway. It will give the collaterals to the intralaminar nuclei, your reticular formation, and your what we say, your internal capsule. And through the posterior limb of the internal capsule, it will go to the, for example, this is your cortex. Fine. And this is your midbrain, your pons, your medulla, and your spinal cord. From here it will go cross and reach upwards, crossing all this, then here to the thalamus. From here we have the internal capsule. From the posterior limb of the internal capsule it descends upwards to the sensory cortex. Is there any difficulty up to here? So we have the anterior spinothalamic tract. Why it is known as anterior spinothalamic tract? Because it's situated in the anterior column. Fine. So due to the position of its situation, anterior, and from it originates from the spinal level, so anterior spino and reaches at the thalamus. So it names is the anterior spinothalamic tract. What it does, let me take the another pen. It has the function of crude touch sensation. And you know it has the receptor Pacinian corpuscles. From there it will go to the dorsal root ganglion. From there it reaches to the where chief sensory nucleus. This is a nucleus for your anterior spinothalamic tract, and it does crosses at the anterior column. From anterior column it ascends upwards. From there it goes to the thalamus, your VPL nucleus, and from there it gives your collaterals. Then to your through the posterior limb of the internal capsule it ascends upwards to your sensory cortex. Then the brain will sense your the crude touch sensation. Fine. So this is your anterior spinothalamic tract. Any questions up to here? Any? Okay, then let's proceed to the next one. First, I'll show you the diagram of it, that how it looks. See, if we see this is your lateral column, so it is situated in the lateral. So we named it the lateral spinothalamic tract. And if we see the tract in the red color, it is your anterior spinothalamic tract. For example, see, it will it takes the from the Pacinian corpuscles, your receptors. It goes to the dorsal root ganglion. Here it forms a first order neuron, and from there it will go to the your chief sensory nucleus. Fine. And from chief sensory nucleus it crosses to the anterior column. So that is why its name is anterior spinothalamic tract. And then it ascends upwards, crossing up to the thalamus. In the VPL nucleus, it forms a third order neuron. From there, it will ascend to the sensory cortex. Any difficulty in this? You don't need to remember anything, you just have to understand it. If you understand it really by heart, you don't need to remember it. It is very easy. So, I have to clear your one term more, that spinal lemniscus. That what is spinal lemniscus? I will first cover the dorsal spinocerebellar tract, then I will give you this down, that what is your spinal lemniscus. Fine. Let me take the new slide. So now we will study the dorsal spinocerebellar tract. So before studying it, we will see few terms which are related to it. Fine. See, for example, this is your spinal cord section, and if I have to do, this is your midbrain, your pons, then your medulla. Then after that it comes your spinal cord. Fine. So if we see, we have some structure around the brainstem. What it is called? Anyone? Please answer me in the comment section. So it is called your cerebellum. Fine. So let's see, what I have to teach you is, see, we have the connections which are the bundle of your white matter only, which are connecting your brainstem to your cerebellum, right? Your brainstem to your cerebellum. What is the brainstem? It consists of your midbrain, your pons, and your medulla. This is your brainstem. So it is connecting through the cerebellum via these white matter bundles. Fine. So what are these bundle called? No need to memorize it again. I am telling you, just understand it by your heart, otherwise it will be very difficult for you. See, it is situated superiorly and it is situated inferiorly and it is in the middle and it is the cerebellum. So we named it accordingly. It named as the white matter bundle, which is connecting your brainstem to your the cerebellum is your white matter bundle. And what are their names? It is situated inferiorly, connecting medulla with the cerebellum. It is called your inferior because it is situated inferiorly, connecting to what? Cerebellum. So inferior cerebellar peduncle. Is there anything to remember it? No. The same way as it is middle cerebellar peduncle. Likewise, we have the superior cerebellar peduncle. Fine. So the white matter bundles which are connecting your brainstem to your cerebellum are called the superior cerebellar peduncle, middle cerebellar peduncle, and your inferior cerebellar peduncle. Fine. Understand? Clear? So now we will study the dorsal spinocerebellar tract. That what is it? I'll write it in the short form, dorsal spinocerebellar tract. Fine. So we in the tract we are discussing initially the function of the tract. So the function of the dorsal spinocerebellar tract is your proprioception and kinesthetic sensation. Now you will see that it is the same function of the dorsal column spinothalamic tract, right? Or the dorsal column medial meniscal system. Then what is the difference? The difference is a great. I'll tell you what is the difference. The difference is that the dorsal column medial meniscal system or the dorsal column spinothalamic tracts are taking the sensation of either proprioception kinesthetic sensation, but they are taking at the conscious level. Do you get the point of the conscious or unconscious? But here the dorsal spinocerebellar tract, it is taking the sensation of proprioception and kinesthetic at the subconscious level. Means you don't have to think it, it is taking it place, it is taking place itself. For example, I'll give you one example to understand it. For example, you are sitting here, right? Or you are doing some work, right? You are listening to my lecture, and your position of the body, you do not have to be conscious, or your brain is not conscious that you have to bend your leg this much at this much angle, and you have to bend or extend your arm at this much angle. Do you have to do it at conscious level? No, na. For example, you are sitting here listening to my lecture, and your body positions are, you don't know at which in the space at which position. So these are taking place by your dorsospinocerebellar tract. Means your dorsospinocerebellar tract is taking the proprioception and kinesthetic sensation at your subconscious level. Means as soon as I said you just then take the consciousness then you take the consciousness that your body is in which position. Fine. Otherwise it was in the subconscious level. So the proprioception and the kinesthetic sensations which are taking place at the subconscious level is taking place by your dorsospinocerebellar tract. Fine. Understand? Now we will study that what is the what is the pathway of it. For example, it is very simple. No need to get afraid. I cleared your terminologies because we want it here. See, I told you the receptors are your Pacinian corpuscles, your Golgi tendon organ, your muscle spindle. Fine. And these are taking place and these are taking the sensation of your proprioception and your kinesthetic sensations to your dorsal root ganglion. Right? At dorsal root ganglion, your first order neuron will be formed. Fine. Then after that it comes to the dorsal gray horn. In the dorsal gray horn we have the again Clark's nucleus where it forms your second order neuron. Fine. Is it difficult to remember anything? No. Say clear? Good. Now I'll take another pen so that it is more clear. So now it will it will cross in the dorsal column only because it is dorsal spinocerebellar tract, and without crossing through the inferior cerebellar peduncle, it goes to your cerebellum. Fine. Such a short tract is there, and in the cerebellum it forms your third order neuron. Is it difficult to remember? Nothing is there. The dorsal spinocerebellar tract is why it is named as, because it is lies the situation is in the dorsal column and it starts from the spinal level. So dorso, spino, and it reaches to your cerebellum. Cerebellar tract, simple. The pathway. The pathway which starts from the dorsal column and it terminates at the cerebellum is called your dorsal spinocerebellar tract. So the sensations for it is your proprioception and kinesthetic, which are taking place at your subconscious level. Fine. And if I have to say you that the receptors are these ones, and it originate and goes to the dorsal root ganglion. Here it forms your first order neuron. From there it goes to the dorsal gray horn. There in the Clark's nucleus it forms your second order neuron, and then it crossed on the same side and ascends upwards through the inferior cerebellar peduncle. It reaches to the cerebellum. So, so the termination of your third order neuron will be at the third order neuron will form at your cerebellum through the inferior cerebellar peduncle, right? Through the inferior cerebellar peduncle that we have discussed right now, right? And it is responsible for your proprioception and kinesthetic sensation, but at subconscious level. It is worth repeating, at the subconscious level your kinesthetic and proprioceptions are taken by your dorsospinocerebellar tract. Fine. Now if we see, if the lesion occurs here, for example, if the lesion occurs here, right, how the patient will be present? The patient will be present with the loss of kinesthetic sensation at subconscious level, not at the conscious level. At the subconscious level, ipsilaterally. Why ipsilaterally? I told you what is ipsilateral. Ipsilateral means on the same side. As you can see, the tract is crossed but it's on the same side. It does not cross. So it will take, if it is originating from the left side, it will take the sensation of the left side only. and if it is on the right side, it will take the sensation from the right side only. Fine. So, if the patient has a lesion in the dorsospinocerebellar tract or any hemorrhage or ischemic occur here at this level, so the patient will present with the loss of kinesthetic sensation at the subconscious level ipsilaterally. Fine? Okay. Now we have studied the dorsospinocerebellar tract. Is it clear? Okay. Then we will proceed to the ventral spinocerebellar tract. Ventral, or you can say anterior, is the same thing. Spinocerebellar tract. Fine. Now the function and the receptors are the same as of the dorsospinocerebellar tract. Fine. The dorsospinocerebellar tract is taking the sensation from the Pacinian corpuscles, your muscle spindle, your Golgi tendon organ. Fine. If I draw the structure here, it is your midbrain, your pons, your medulla, then your spinal cord. It is very funny tract. We will see how the function is the same, taking the kinesthetic sensation at the subconscious level, but we have to see the pathway of it, that how it is taking place. Fine. Likewise here also. For example, if I say same, it will come, forms the first order neuron in the dorsal root ganglion, then in the dorsal horn forms the second order neuron. Fine. The thing changes here. For example, if I talk about the dorsospinocerebellar tract, it is taking crossing here in the dorsal column only, means on the same side. But if we see in the ventral spinocerebellar tract, what happens is, the thing happens is it crosses and reaches your lateral column, and then it ascends upwards. Fine. Crosses, reaches to the lateral column, then it ascends upwards, right? Wait a minute. Just let me make it more clear. Okay, let us draw again. If we see, this is the structure, fine. Or we can say midbrain pons, your medulla, and this is your spinal cord. From here your dorsal root comes, and your dorsal root ganglion. Fine. Now first order neuron here, right? And from here it comes to the dorsal root ganglion, sorry, dorsal gray horn. Here it forms your second order neuron. Now it crosses and comes in the lateral column. From here it ascends upwards. Fine. And goes to your superior bundle. Which bundle? Your superior cerebellar peduncle. It would be up to here only. Fine. So I'll draw it with another color so it is more visual to you. See, it ascends upwards and through the superior cerebellar peduncle, it will go to the cerebellum. Here it forms the third order neuron. Fine. Means the tract is crossing. If we see from this side, the same thing happens. Let us take another pen so it is more clear to you. It will come to the first dorsal root ganglion. Here it forms the first order neuron. Here in the dorsal gray horn it will form the second order neuron. From here it will cross to lateral spinothalamic lateral column, sorry, and then it ascends upwards and all the way to superior cerebellar peduncle. Is it difficult? No. But the funny thing is that if it crossed at the lateral column, but then also, let me take another pen to show you. Then at the cerebellum level, it recrosses again. Do you understand? Means if I draw this with another pen, uh, right, it goes to the within the cerebellar peduncle only it crosses. This the tract which is coming from your right side again goes to the right side. Fine, that it comes on the left, again it comes on the right side, and the tract which is coming from the left side means to right side, again it crosses to the left side. Fine. So this is the point which you have to remember, and the functions are the same, no need to memorize. Kinesthetic sensation at the subconscious level. Fine. Clear? So it is ventral spinocerebellar tract. So now we will proceed to the next. Let me take a new slide. So now we will see very few ascending tracts which are to be known, but it is very easy. So I'll cover it in the this slide only. I'll try. Means major tract ascending has been covered, but now these are the minor tracts which we are talking about, which we are going to talk about. Your midbrain, your pons, your medulla, and your spinal cord. Again, your midbrain, your pons, your medulla, and your spinal cord. Fine. So, if we talk about the another tract, another spine ascending tract, then we will study here the spinotactal tract. Fine. Now, the function of the spinotactal tract is your visual reflexes. Fine. So, let's see how it works or how it goes. From the receptors, it comes to the dorsal root ganglion. Here it forms a first order neuron. Then in the dorsal gray horn, it forms a second order neuron. Fine. Then it get crossed here, and from here it ascends upwards and goes to the tectum. Now my question is, what is tectum? Yes, anyone? What is tectum? Tectum is present in your midbrain. We have the two structures that is called the superior colliculi and the inferior colliculi. Fine. Superior colliculi and the inferior colliculi. These form your tectum, which is in the midbrain. Fine. So the tract comes and form here the second order neuron, and in the tectum it forms the third order neuron. What it does, it cross and comes to the and tectum, and here it synapses in the superior colliculi. Fine. So this tract is responsible for your visual reflexes. For example, uh, if we see, if we see to go to the previous slides, that where we have discussed about the lateral spinothalamic tract, your pain and temperature. No, this one is not. For example, see here. Right. Your lateral spinothalamic tract, which is this one, it is taking the sensation of pain. For example, if you have seen that whenever the pain occurs or whenever you got hurt, do you see whenever you perceive the pain, you just check it where it happens. Like you turn your face and check it that where it happens. That is by your spinotactile tract, means the visual reflexes which are controlled by your spinotactile tract. Visual reflexes means that whatever happens you just see with your eyes. That is the reflex that you do not have to see, but anything which hurts you or touches you, then you immediately see that what happens. That occurs with your, that is the reflex then. So that occurs with your which tract? Spinotactile tract. Fine. So if we see here, the spinotactile tract, it fuses or synapses in the superior colliculum of the tectum. So it controls your visual reflexes. Simple. This tract has, thank God, not more complexity. If the lesion occurs in the tract anywhere, the patient will suffer or patient presents as contralateral loss of visual reflex. Simple. You don't have to remind the lesion, because if you remember the function, the lesion would be absent of the function. Fine. Or any deterioration in the function is the lesion. Fine. So I need to clear one more term here. If we see, let me take out that diagram. Right. No, not this one. Yes, this one. Right. If we see the lateral spinothalamic tract and anterior spinothalamic tract along with the, for example, wait, I'll draw it with another pen so that it is clear. So, for example, we have the that spinotactile pathway here only. Fine. So it follows like this, and in the midbrain it fuses. Fine. In the midbrain of the superior colliculus, for example here. So before it, the three tracts, the anterior spinothalamic tract, your lateral spinothalamic tract, and your spinotactile tract, these the bundle of these forms your spinal lemniscus. That is why I did not mention earlier, so that we complete it and then we learn the full thing, that from where the spinal lemniscus came. If you came across the term spinal lemniscus, it is the bundle of your white matter which is along the pathway when crossed the spinal level, it is formed by anterior spinothalamic tract, your lateral spinothalamic tract, and your spinotectal tract. That together forms your spinal lemniscus. Fine. This includes your anterior spinothalamic tract, your lateral spinothalamic tract, again addition with the addition of your what? Good. Spinotectal tract. Simple. So now your this definition is also clear. Now if we see the other short tracks are left, that we will revise it now. For example, the same dorsal root ganglion, then in the dorsal gray horn, then crossing occurs, it reaches the olives in the medulla. Fine. We have the pyramids and olives, right? For example, these are the olives. This is also the gray matter, which is a nucleus in the medulla. So, it is taking first order neuron from here, second order neuron here, and third order neuron, which forms synapse at the olives. So, this tract is called your spino olivary tract because it is taking origin from the spinal level and it is terminating at the olives. So, spino olivary tract. Can you tell me what it is responsible for? Again, like dorsal spinocerebellar tract, it is also responsible for your proprioception, kinesthetic sensation, vibration sensation, but at subconscious level. Very good. At the conscious level, what is which tract is responsible for taking these sensations? Dorsal column spinolemniscal tract. Fine. So with this, we finishes our mostly ascending tracts, right? And in the next class, we will discuss about the descending tracts. That what are descending tracts? Don't worry, these are very small, not like the ascending tracts. They were huge, and but they are easy, right? Now it is easy for you. Can you just answer all the ascending tracts now? It's very easy, right? Now let's post the question for today. The question is, which tract is taking the, or let's say, wait, I'll ask you another question. The question is that how the spinal lemniscus is formed, right? And the options are by the, any guesses? Anterior spinothalamic tract, your lateral spinothalamic tract, and your spinotectal tract. And the last option is all of the above. Please do answer me in the comment section and subscribe me and watch my videos. Stay tuned and tell me what you want to add in this video. I'll add it, and just study please and answer me in the comment section. Thanks for watching. Thank you so much.